Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And unless you've been living under a rock, you probably just witnessed the worst liquidation / crash we have ever experienced in crypto, seeing some coins, even major coins with market caps upwards of $280 billion, crash over 45% in a matter of hours, even seeing mid caps crash upwards of 66% in a matter of hours, and most devastatingly, seeing smaller market cap coins crush upwards of 80% in a matter of hours, which led to the biggest liquidation event we have ever seen in crypto. Some saying it's 10 times, some saying it's 20 times bigger than the COVID crash, with over 1.6 million traders completely liquidated in an hour, which I'm sure is causing a lot of pain out there, a lot of hurt, a lot of confusion, and I completely understand. And as much as I wanted to jump on sooner and discuss what just happened and why it happened and try to give some explanation on how I see things moving forward, typically what I've found in the past is the best thing you can do during a situation like this is not panic, not get emotional, let the dust settle, let a few days pass and see how the market ends up reacting. And so far, since the dump, we've seen Bitcoin rally to the prices it was only at 2 weeks ago. Even seeing some of the coins that took the biggest hits like XRP rally back higher, and since the crash only down 10%. And even some of the worst affected coins since Friday's crash, only down 14% now. So in today's video, we're going to touch on what I talked about in Friday's conveniently timed video, where I did see a lot of concerns with the market, and I was quite conscious of the fact that we could see price rollover from these levels, especially for coins like XRP, which has now ended up rolling over like ADA did at the end of its market cycle in 2021. I'm going to discuss a time that in the past I thought the market cycle had ended, and surprisingly looks very similar to the way things are playing out today. So there's lots to cover in today's video, guys. Let's jump into it. So before we get into the charts, I just wanted to discuss the absolute magnitude of what happened on Friday and Saturday morning here for us in Australia. We have never ever seen anything like this before in crypto. The size of the liquidations, the amount of traders wiped out, the fact that people that had stop losses in place got completely liquidated because the order books got wiped, therefore there was no one to buy up their stop losses, which we can see here, traders getting liquidated for their entire accounts, $400,000 gone in a matter of minutes, even with safety measures put in place. And this was all on the back of a Trump tweet, which we have seen before, and that was only just back here in April 7th when we'd seen the same discussions of tariffs, the same tariffs on China, the same news events to scare the market. And then what we ended up seeing from this exact same moment in April was Bitcoin and the altcoin market rally higher, new highs end up getting set. And now here we are again, a few months later, seeing the same thing play out, the same news event causing the markets to crash, but this time the magnitude of the crash is 10 times worse, 10 times bigger than we've ever seen. And I understand it's caused a ton of panic out there. I understand that it's probably broken a lot of charts as far as technical analysis goes, which led me to end up spending the weekend not trading and just reflecting on the way that everything played out, and most importantly, where I've seen and actually felt this type of panic and fear in the market before. And being in crypto since 2017, there's only really been one time that truly shook me like yesterday did. And I remember this specifically because as soon as it happened, I thought the world was going to end. I thought it was over for crypto, and it was a complete panic time. And it was actually best represented here on the others chart. And what we can see is that so far during this market cycle, others, which is the crypto market excluding the 10 biggest coins by market cap, and what we can see is that since the all-time high that was set back here in 2021, we have simply been in a bear market. We haven't set new highs. All we've seen is these two peaks off the bear market lows, and now during this liquidation event, we have shot all the way back down to the bear market support level, seeing prices as low as we've seen back in 2023, mid 2024, even back upwards of 2022. And the reason I'm showing this chart is because I've seen this before. I've seen all of this play out, and it was actually the last time that I panic sold crypto, and that was during COVID. Now, I want you to take a mental snapshot of the way that this chart looks right now and how this has all played out. The fact that we've slammed all the way back down to the lows here. And I want to just take you back here. I'm not going to do any cuts, any edits. We're just going to go back to COVID times when I felt this type of panic before in the market and have a look at the way things played out. And it really was the same thing, guys. This was right here. You can see this is March of 2020. This was the COVID panic, but price action was very similar to what we see today. Clearly in a bear market, we've had the lows set in the bear market, and we've seen price rally 2 times off the lows, setting 2 initial peaks before we did see COVID and price came slamming all the way back down. And where did it slam to? The top of the bear market resistance level here. So after experiencing and feeling the same feelings and panic that I had in 2021, it then led me back to this time period and this chart in particular. And what I can see here is that we are seeing structurally the exact same setup that we seen during COVID. And if you weren't around for this time, which I'm sure many people weren't, what ended up happening after this was essentially the greatest bull market we've ever seen for the altcoin market. And even though we were down in the depths here and no one could see any hope, I mean, the whole world was collapsing, the financial system looked like it was going to implode, the world was literally shut down, and within just a matter of months, we ended up seeing the craziest rally we've ever seen for the altcoin market. I mean, this thing is just, it went crazy from here. And now somehow under somewhat similar market conditions, but certainly not economic conditions in the form of global shutdowns, we have just seen a very similar backtest and the average price of altcoins slam all the way back down to their bear market resistance levels. And now we are left with this. And what's most interesting about all of this and the way that prices played out is that you'll notice there's a lot of people complaining that during this big wick that ended up playing out here for the altcoin market, a lot of these coins that tanked the hardest, like XRP, even something like ADA, a lot of traders and a lot of people were complaining that they weren't able to get onto their exchanges and actually purchase any spot. And the truth is that a lot of exchanges, even though the order books were completely wiped out, which then led to this massive liquidation cascade, a lot of traders weren't able to go on, put in positions, buy up crypto as it was selling off, therefore leaving the order books completely blank. Which makes me think, who was buying up all this wick? Who had access to whitelisted exchanges where they could buy up all of this selling volume? Who could buy up all of this $20 billion of liquidation that ended up playing out? Who was short 20 minutes before Trump's tweet that ended up crashing the market at record levels that we've never seen before? Because it certainly wasn't the retail investor. And it certainly wasn't anyone that had access to standard exchanges, because all of those simply weren't working. Everyone was logged out. Nothing worked. And you might just think, oh, these are just crappy altcoins. These things just happened. It's all a meme. But we aren't just talking about standard altcoins. We're talking about altcoins that are a part of a massive crypto strategic reserve group that the US government is stockpiling and potentially accumulating. And now, very conveniently for them, we see these coins flush 40 to 60 to 80% down, with retail not able to buy up any of this dip, yet somehow some entities have had access to some of the best buying opportunities that we may ever see. And even though last week I did address concerns here that I had for the crypto market, even comparing something like XRP to the way that ADA ended up topping out in 2021, and I said that if XRP was to break down below these support levels here that I had marked out in red, it would clearly resemble the way that ADA ended up playing out when its bull market had come to a completion back in 2021. Just the way that all of this ended up playing out, the way we've seen price already rebound back up off these lows, the amount of retail that ended up panic selling a lot of their bags, and that Ethereum has actually held up so well here, back tested into its support levels, it makes me think that we are going to actually see the market go higher. And call me crazy, maybe just overly optimistic, but I do think that something like Ethereum is most likely setting up for a new all-time high by the end of November here. And that if we can see coins like XRP get back above $2.70, therefore invalidating this fractal here that we have from Cardano, as we can see when ADA did break down from these levels, there was no point where it recovered back above this level and then continued higher. So if we do see something like XRP get back above these levels and continue to push higher, it therefore invalidates this fractal, and then we can maybe potentially see even higher prices for something like XRP here, which actually gives me quite a fair bit of hope and optimism moving forward, especially because of the last time I truly felt like this in a market was right at the bottom of COVID. And we know that just from having a look at something like this, we can see that last week's events was 10, 20 times bigger than the COVID crash itself. And even though we have experienced such a massive crash here in crypto, the fact that it was all on the back of a single post, which some insiders clearly knew about, the fundamentals still haven't changed here. And the fact that we've seen price action like this during very similar time periods gives me a lot of hope and optimism moving forward for the crypto market. So guys, we'll see how things end up playing out if the market wants to roll over and continue crashing down. And what we ended up seeing on Friday was potentially the first profit take at the end of the bull market, or if we are going to resemble how things ended up playing out during the end of COVID back in 2020, when we did just see the market rip from here. But one thing I just want to leave you all with is that if you think the market's over and that this is the end of the market cycle, you're essentially saying that this right here, where price is sitting right now, this is where it ends. This is where the bear market starts. This is where everything rolls over and ends. Where some majors like ADA are still down 77% from their all-time high. I don't know, guys. I don't see it. I don't see how some coins that are clearly going to have some importance in the future, that this little pop right here was the 2025 bull market. Not even making it back to a 50% retracement level. I just don't see it. And I think a lot of the people panic selling right now, getting out right here at this level, calling for a bear market or at least prices to go lower, are most likely being faked out for what's probably going to be the craziest bull market for crypto. And then if we really just look at things on a higher time frame and zoom out, something like Ethereum here looks like to me it's going to be one of the first coins that ends up telling the story of what's to come next. Even with the strong bounce that we've seen off the lows here, I think it's most likely that we actually see a new all-time high set by the end of November. So we'll see how all of this ends up playing out, guys. I hope no one lost too much money, and if you did panic sell the bottom here, I completely understand, because this was me back in 2021, and over the coming months, this is what I ended up having to sit through after figuring out that the world wasn't going to end during COVID. Just like I don't think things are going to end during this manipulated, planned market crash. So anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below in the comment section, and I'll see you guys in the next one.